Oh, amigos, it has been so long that I literally found a spider as I was grabbing my camera. Not making that up. Also, amigos, I forgot to say, my mom made this. She is so talented. I can't with her. She's literally, it is disrespectful how talented this woman is. Thank you, Mom. Hi, amigos, it's Mar. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. It's been a minute, and we're obviously going to be talking about why that is, because at the beginning of the year and end of last year, I made a video saying that I wanted to fully show up for myself, and every 3 months-ish, quarterly, I would be updating you guys with the progress of that. And boy, was the last 3 quarters a lot. I feel like I entered my hermit mode era where I just needed to look within and really just try and process and integrate all of the lessons that I was learning. But don't worry, I feel like I'm fully back and ready to show up for myself. Also, I'm like totally not even addressing the hair. I didn't mean to just glaze over that, but yes, I dyed my hair. We'll also get a little more into that. But let's just jump right in. I hope you have a coffee, a tea, something, so we can just have a girl chat type of moment. But the first lesson, well, not even lesson, but I guess reflection that I was going through in the past quarter was more so trying to figure out what I want out of life. And more than anything, I realized I'm not really focusing on materialistic items. I'm focusing on emotions. Like, well, yes, materialistic items are wonderful, amazing things that we are meant to be on this earth and experience. I realize I want pure, genuine, blissful happiness and a compassionate, understanding, growth-oriented kind of love. And those are the feelings that I really want to attract in my life and experience on a day-to-day basis. And I just want to explore anything that is gonna bring me those emotions in my life, whether it be traveling or sewing something or reading a book or going on a walk or just anything. I just want to attract and experience these things that are going to bring these kinds of emotions into my life. And adding on to that, one of the, I don't even want to say easiest ways, but one of the ways that is most helpful to experience these kinds of emotions is to be so present. And I feel like a lot of people say that, like, oh, you have to be present, don't focus on the past, don't focus on the future, the present is all we have. And but it's so true. We don't have a second from now, we don't have 10 years from now, we don't have the last 10 years, all we have is this very moment. And I mean, we don't have a second from now because then that second becomes the now, so it's really not a second from now. Okay, I'm getting too deep into that. So this has kind of brought me to an important topic on sensuality. And my main big idea around sensuality is what makes me feel in my body, what makes me stop and feel in my body and kind of places the world around me on pause. And it's always to me, I notice it's always the little things, and it could be the big things too. Most of the time it's that first sip of coffee in the morning for me, or the smell of flowers, or the sound of waves crashing, smelling the salt in the air, a nice big warm hug with your loved ones, literal cackling, rib stomach hurting laughter with your family or friends, and a good book where I'm literally almost skipping over words as I read it because I just have to get to the next part and know what happens. It's those type of moments that genuinely, quite literally, make me forget about the world around me and keep me so in my body. And I love those moments. I want to experience so many more of those moments. This one was very hard to unpack. I feel like I just recently started to unpack it, but I really had to face and process my self-fear. my self-doubt and fear that I can't accomplish what I set out for myself. And I think, well, not I think, I know this comes from when I was a child. I would sit and hear my dad talk to my sisters when he would ask them what they wanted to do with their lives, and they would give him a career option, and he would quite literally look at them and be like, no, that's not for you. Like, you can't do that. Like, that, you have to be really mentally strong to go in that kind of career field. And it very much instilled that lack of confidence and lack of belief in them. And I definitely, like, what's the word? I definitely absorbed it as he was saying it to them. And while I completely forgive my dad and know that that's how he was raised, so he really didn't know any better. He didn't have a better way of communicating with us, or also I understand that he was just trying to pave a path for us career-wise that he thought we would do best in, but the message really got lost in translation. But I completely forgive him because I know that's how he was raised and he didn't know any better. But obviously your body and your mind have a hard time letting that go. So while I've forgiven him, that self-doubt and that lack of confidence and lack of belief in myself were definitely very much still within me. So I had to try and let go of that and be like, no, you are completely capable of accomplishing everything you set your heart out to be. And a mantra that I found very helpful during this time was stop fighting for your limitations. I'll say it one more time because it's so powerful. Stop fighting for your limitations. Like, every time that I'm thinking of doing something and I'm like, oh no, there's no way I could do that. Like, that's not possible for me. Why am I fighting so hard to stay in the same spot? The whole point that I want out of life is to grow and evolve, and I want to become the person that I feel in my heart and soul that I was meant to be, and I can't do that if I keep fighting for my limitations, because I'm just going to stay in the same spot my whole life. And I definitely want to grow as a human being, and I can only do that with, like, breaking through my limitations. And yes, I might fail, and yes, it might be painful, ugly, crying and screaming, and all of the above, but that's not the only way, but that's one of the ways that I will break through my limitations. So I feel like I'm still trying to thoroughly process that one, but I definitely feel like I'm more on the latter side than the beginning. And then pigging back off of that one, I feel like I've become very okay with being misunderstood. And for a part of my life, I hated that. I was definitely a people pleaser. I hated ruffling feathers. Conflict was like, no. So I didn't care that I wasn't being true to myself as long as people didn't misunderstand my messaging or my intentions, because I didn't want conflict. And now I realize, like, you are the only person that you really have to answer to. People are going to misunderstand you all the time. They're going to misunderstand your message, your intentions, your heart, everything. But they're the ones who live with that, not you, because you know your intentions, you know your messaging, you know your heart. So you have, like, at some point I have to be okay with letting that messaging possibly get lost in translation.
I know my hair is drastically different than what you guys are even seeing here. There's a video coming about that, I promise. Anyway, I feel like I have to further explain this because I feel like I didn't capture my entire message in there. So another point of what I'm trying to say is people can only understand you through the lens that they've lived through. So everyone has, like, this lens that is their perspective of which they look through life at. And it definitely gets cloudy and dirty sometimes with trauma and shame and guilt of things that have happened in their life. So when you're explaining something to them or when you're saying something, they are understanding your messaging through their lens of life. So you can't expect the message to always be interpreted, understood the way you're understanding it in your head, because they're looking at it and listening to it through their own lens. It's just going to happen that your message is misunderstood because they're understanding it through their trauma, their shame, their guilt, or the complete opposite of that. So at some point, I have to be okay with being misunderstood because they're just listening through their own perspective, and there's nothing wrong with that. And there's nothing wrong with my messaging because I understand my intentions.
And another one that ties in with trying to break through my self-limiting beliefs and lack of confidence was that I'm not going to stop chasing my dreams just because the timeline doesn't look how I wanted it to look.
I think this also relates a little more to living life without regrets.
At the end of the day, I don't want to like be on my deathbed. I know as morbid as this sounds, but like be on my deathbed and like just thinking about all the what ifs. Like, what if I had accomplished that? What if I had kept going? What if things actually came into fruition well past when I thought they were? You know, I don't want to have that moment of regret. I just don't want to ever wonder, could things have actually come true if I stuck with it? And that's why I feel like I may want to scream, cry, get disappointed, but I never want to give up on my dreams because that's what I feel like makes my life go round. I don't want to not have something to work towards in the sense of aspirations and goals for myself. And I know even in a career field, you can have that, but for me, that's not where my dream lies. So, and I know there'll always be more wants, bigger desires, but I don't want those wants and desires to steer off and transform into something that doesn't fulfill me.
Just because I think it's more attainable or will easily, that's not a word. Just because I think it will come into fruition with more ease. And I don't want to settle, basically, is what I'm saying.
I feel like this one piggybacks off of the last three with the newfound confidence and the being okay with being misunderstood. I feel like that has kind of transformed and come into fruition through like how I present myself now. That's why I changed my hair color, because this is something I had wanted to do for probably a year and a half, but I just kept doubting myself and being like, what would people think, when that really doesn't matter whatsoever. So I'm like, who cares what people think? I want to have this color hair. This is the hair color I'm gonna do. Like, I'm genuinely becoming the person that I feel like my physical appearance is becoming the person that I've always wanted to be, but lacked the confidence to transform myself into that, because I was like, no, what if people think this? Or, you know, I don't know, people are gonna think I'm weird or I'm crazy for doing this. But it's, at the end of the day, it literally is like, who cares? You have one life to live. Live it.
I don't know why it was so hard for me to spit out that last part, but I mean that I'm allowing myself to express myself freely with my physical appearance. I don't know why that word was so hard for me right now. But I'm allowing myself to dress how I please, do my hair as I please, hence this, wear my makeup as I please, without caring what other people think, and without even putting that thought in my brain. If I feel like having purple hair tomorrow, I'm going to dye my hair purple. If I feel like wearing all black for 3 months straight, I'm going to allow myself to do that, because that's how I genuinely feel like expressing myself, without even considering the judgment of other people. And I love that for me.
So I know this is kind of like a very, I don't want to say even deep, but a very meaningful video to come back after 2 months, but I really feel like I'm back in the right headspace to show up and go after all of this. So I'll genuinely promise you guys I'm gonna be uploading a lot more frequently. So with that being said, peace and blessings, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!